Are these the droids you're looking for? How about these instead? Hi, I'm Dave Dooling, Education Director at the New Mexico Museum of Space History. Today, we'll take a look at the real droids, robots, that extend our reach in space. First, the word robot comes from an old Slavic word for slave. In a 1920 play by Karel Čapek, a Czech writer, Rossum's universal robots are artificial humans created to do hard, boring work. This one looks like he's going through a Windows update. Eventually, they rebel and exterminate the human race. For decades, robots existed mostly as movie and TV characters, mainly because we didn't have computers to control them. You will understand better when you think of each muscle you have to move, each joint that has to flex and then sense and then stop when you wrap a package. And this is the key aspect. Robot properly means an automated system that has an arm and an end effector that can be reprogrammed for different tasks. So, while spacecraft have been increasingly automated, only a few carry robots. The first was the Surveyor series of landers that tested the lunar surface before astronauts arrived. Each carried a simple arm that dug trenches to study the soil. In December 2020, China's Chang'e 5 lander went a step further. It used a robot arm to dig more than 6 feet into the lunar soil and then store 4 pounds of samples for return to Earth. In 1976, the Viking landers carried arms to scoop Martian soil into chambers to test for life. In 2008, the Mars Phoenix lander used a robot arm to look for ice below the surface near the South Pole. The most famous space robot was Space Shuttle's Canadarm. It retrieved and released satellites and moved astronauts and equipment during service calls to the Hubble Space Telescope. Oddly, even though it easily handled the 12-ton Hubble, it could not pick up its own weight on Earth. The arm would have broken. But in the free fall of space, everything is weightless. A larger version, Canadarm2, now operates aboard International Space Station. It is on a mobile base that can slide from one side to the other to assemble and maintain ISS. In 2004, Canada provided an advanced cousin, Dexter, the special-purpose dexterous manipulator, which can handle power tools and perform some tasks rather than require crew spacewalks. Canada even put it on their $5 bill. They have company. Kibo, the Japanese experiment module, has a robot arm to position test modules on an exposed platform. And Europe will soon add an arm to assist 2 Russian cargo cranes. Inside station, NASA has experimented with Robonaut 2, which is anthropomorphic. That's a big word meaning it looks like a human. I think it looks a lot like Boba Fett. Robonaut should lead to robots that perform precise, routine tasks and may be included on planetary rovers. And speaking of that, how about planetary rovers? The first were the Lunokods that the Soviet Union launched in 1970 and 1973. Lunokhod 1 covered 6.5 miles in less than a year. Lunokhod 2 covered 26 miles in 4 months, a record that stood until 2014. Not until 1997 did another planetary rover go to work. NASA's Sojourner rover used a wheel design similar to Lunokhod and drove 330 feet in 3 months. This set the stage for more ambitious rovers. Spirit and Opportunity arrived in January 2003. They were only supposed to last 90 Martian days. Spirit worked until 2010 and Opportunity until 2018. Together, they covered 36 miles. Curiosity landed in 2012 and has traveled more than 14 miles and is still going strong. Its advanced sibling, Perseverance, is en route to a February 2021 landing. In January 2019, China landed Yutu, or Jade Rabbit, on the moon. And to support NASA's Artemis mission to return to the moon, the Viper robot will land near the lunar South Pole to search for water in 2023. But what about robot arms? NASA's Mars rovers had them to deploy drills and sensors to study rocks and soil. NASA is also studying rovers that would explore under the ice of Europa and other frozen moons in the outer solar system. And NASA and the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency are working on robots to refuel satellites. Where might they go next? Robots have moved into operating rooms on Earth. Since even the best doctor can't know everything, robot doctors are likely to be part of moon bases and Mars missions, so this doesn't have to happen. But first, we have to figure out how to manage fluids in low gravity. And we have to design sensors that do everything the human eye, brain, and sense of touch can do in finding and fixing the problem and recognizing trouble along the way. How about robots that assemble more robots? Electronics and other key items would be shipped up from Earth, but the robots would build structures from local materials which don't have to be ultralight alloys like we use on Earth. Step 1 is to build a copy of yourself, and then you and the clone build another copy, and so on. When you have enough, start building your base. Program them well, or you might get this. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more stories from space.